Please be joined this time by the defense coordinator at Wayne County, Coach Randy Crutchfield. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, sir. Good to have you, or glad for you to have me on, and thankful for all you do for coaches in the state. Listen to your podcast a lot.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it. You got Coach Shaw down there at Wayne County with you. He's a good one. He's been on the show a few times. Make sure y'all take care of him down there in Wayne County. He's going way down, long way from Rabun County. That's a long coaching journey.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, I was at Dodge County before, so.
Yeah. You guys both been in some good places. So, Coach, what are we going to talk about today?
Just really D-line play, kind of how we play in our 3-4, and kind of how we play our C area with some outside. Making sure we're talking about D-line play and really talking about how it meshes with the whole deal that we're going to do. So these guys are head up on the tackles, all right? So they're slightly outside eye. We've had some trouble with these guys, at least coming and installing something new where they're trying to go inside. We're telling them they're B-gap players, but not in the literal sense. We don't want them to block themselves. So we actually have a guy that we'll call like the plugger linebacker and a runner linebacker. Our runner linebacker plays to the back and plays to the trips. He's kind of our adjuster guy with the front. So here with our ends, all right, here with our ends, okay, we're telling those guys if they get a down block, we don't want to, I feel like R.L. Army a little bit, like choke yourself. We don't want to block ourselves. So we want to go through this guy, all right, we want to go through the tackle on the way to the puller. So if we get anything coming back here or they got an H-back and they're both pulling back, we want to go through that guy and really blow up his inside number. We're telling him to go through and blow up his inside number. And what we would like to do is it should be 3 steps. It should be I step with my inside foot, outside foot, on my inside foot, I blow him up. And then with that inside foot in the ground, I should be able to knock the guy back. And we're going to throw that flipper and hopefully get a ricochet into this guy. The whole goal of everything is 2.5 yards. All right. And that's really what any run scheme we get or anybody that's doing this, because we'll ask inside linebackers, outside linebackers, and our DNs to do this same technique that we're teaching here. But the goal is 2.5 yards. All right. I always tell our guys if you stay on the line of scrimmage, squeeze them down the line of scrimmage, you got a good offensive line, they're just going to log in. That tells the running back right now, take the ball outside. If you just run upfield, they're going to kick you, and you run upfield to 5 yards, it tells the running back right now, hey, cut it up. All right. The disciplined running back's going to have to cut it up in a small area. But the guys that run upfield, if we get kicked, you just tell them where to cut it. So I always say 2.5 yards. If we can get right here and we can make a mess right in there, he's got to think. And I ask our guys who, what are running backs really good at? Are they good at running or good at thinking? I mean, some of them may be good at thinking, but we want them thinking, because if they're thinking, they're not running. Okay. So they get here at 2.5 yards. Now that guy's wondering, do I take it outside? Do I cut it up? Do I cut it back? And now we're slowing down the play while he's thinking about where he's going. Now we're getting everybody running to the football. And kind of the deal with this is that with that open B gap, we're trying to make it to where if they pull this way, we're taking away that B gap with his body or with the tackle's body, so that now we get 2 straight players. If we make a collision here and the guy bounces it outside, now we've got exactly what we want. So we always talk about who's Mr. Inside, who's Mr. Outside, and we do that 2 ways. All right, we're going to do it with who's the outside and who's the inside fitter and the outside fitter, all right, on the run. So in this sense, if we're playing our base and they're in heads, then this guy right here, these ends, would automatically be Mr. Inside, all right? And then our Vipers here, they're going to be Mr. Outside. So they know right now the ball can't get outside of me. He's going to blow. He should be spilling the ball to me. I'm going to play with good depth and good width. But if that ball does crease, I can fall back in. But if it does, we probably need to find a new DN. He should be spilling everything to us. And then now so this is Mr. Inside on the fit. The Viper is Mr. Outside on the fit. And then when that guy spills the ball, we're talking about on the tackle. So when the ball gets outside here, the Viper should be outside of everything. Our plugger here is going to be on the inside of everything. So now who's Mr. Inside, who's Mr. Outside on the tackle? And that's kind of the whole basis of everything we do, and why we do this with these ends is to make sure that we always get 2-on-1. It used to be where you want to get the ball to the unblocked player, which I think is obviously defensive football. That's still what you want to do. But my goal now is to get the ball to 2 unblocked players. And the only way that happens is you got the D end right here that can take a good track, go through the hip of that tackle, blow up the inside number, and get the ricochet to where it knocks back into the wrapper. So we're just trying to either make it cut back now, which is good for us, all right, or we want to make it run the big bubble. And so the goal is kind of keep making it run to the outside. Do not allow any vertical seams in the run game. But that was kind of where we were at there. We tell them, so the other one we talked about a little bit of a kamikaze deal. If these guys do end up, and this would happen if we line them up in 4 eyes, or we're slanting them. We tell the guys, if we're slanting you, or we slant you one way or the other, if we're slanting this guy into B gap, as soon as you feel pressure on that outside pad, you need to rip up field. And I tell them, I'm like, look, I don't care if we have to dive at the guy. Like, you're already blocked because we're going inside. You already feel pressure, but you got a kamikaze. You may be going out, but you need to take more with you. So we really want to rip and get vertical so that we can impede the pullers. Because that's the biggest thing. We want to impede the pullers. And then versus zone game, I mean, they're going to block out. So we're trying to cancel that B gap, but stay big in our gap. As we cancel it, rip there, get big, and try to make the B gaps really as wide as possible with our body in it so that we can force a bigger bounce from the running back. And what we're going to have a guy responsible for an A gap, and we're going to have a guy responsible for quarterback like everybody else would. That's kind of how we go about things with our ends. I'm going to try and show a little bit of film here. We try to be, super simple. We tell those guys, we're playing B gap. We just don't want to block ourselves. And like I said, we do the same thing with our Vipers and with our inside backers as well. All right, I'm going to try and share some video here. Let's see if I can. Did you make it? Can I share, Coach?
Let me see. Let me make sure. I thought I could, but we came in and out. Oh, no. Now you can.
All right. So go right here. Let's close this down. All right. You have that, Coach?
I got it.
All right. Awesome. All right. So we're looking at this D end right here. Okay. And this is really a great look at it. Great first step. We're start talking about that inside foot. We're taking that inside foot. It'll start stepping down. Great angle. All right. We're not worried about getting a ton on them. I tell them to punch through the hip, almost like we would, an offensive lineman or something trying to shoulder block it. All right. We don't need to get a ton on him because if he blocks the linebackers because we didn't leverage the block good enough. All right, but he goes there, and this is really not bad at all. But if he was a little bit, if the H-back was a little bit closer, we tell him to rip up field kamikaze this, but it just ends up working out. He takes out right there, and we take out the H-back, we take out the puller, we take the wrapper, and there's the line for your 2.5. It's exactly at 2.5, and now the guy's got to make a decision. Do I cut it back or do I bounce it? And then I'll show some tackling drills here in a second, but now we get exactly what we want here with our tacklers. This is what we talk about our guys with the 2-on-1. So now here's Mr. Inside on the fit. Here's Mr. Outside on the fit, on the tackle. So as it plays, we get the ball bounced right there and we're playing out. So that we're getting the ball right now based upon that, the 2 unblocked players. That's a square on the backside, but that is beautiful right there. All right, so kind of talking, we're trying to get better every day. I mean, this stuff is not nearly what it what it needs to be. But start talking about stepping into B gap. All right, so we need to get a little bit bigger. We take too far of a step here, but we've got an open A gap, and we've got our C gap player here. All right, we're just we need to make this a little bit bigger, not so much define our gaps and us own them and be in them and try to make that bounce big right there. But we still got our outside fitters, and we talk to those outside backers. Like if you're the guy away from the back, you're the quick fitter. The guys that bump. All right, and like I said, we'll ask the same thing out of our inside backers, outside backers, so they all do the same technique. It makes it very simple, very easy. All right, so like right here on this, we're an inside. We don't have a safety, but hey, I'm Mr. Inside, I'm Mr. Outside on the fit would be the safety here. Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside on the fit. And then based upon where the ball goes, we'll determine where the tackle is. But we work down inside right here. It's not bad, pretty good step. Need to be a little bit more physical on the tackle. But we've leveraged it well. He fits on the inside. All right, we still get the same thing we want. We need to be a little tighter here, but we're still getting a 2-on-1 right here. And the guys fit tight. He's going to take it. I mean, he's getting the bounce. That's exactly what we want. Now he's making a decision right there. At about 2 yards, he's got to decide where he's going to go. All right, same thing up top with this kid right here. This DN we're watching. All right, he blows it up. We'd like for him to be a little bit more inside number right there, and he turns his shoulders a little bit too much because we want the ricochet. We don't want that guy to be hit flat right back in there. We really want to ricochet him back inside or back into the puller the wrapper right here. And would have been better if we hadn't blitzed the linebacker right there, but still at least making it small and making the ball have to make a decision right here. It's not just an easy cut. He was thinking about, hey, where do I need to go right now? All right, and that's kind of how, at least fitting those down blocks, and that's really goal number one. And then canceling the B gap. We've been so hard on them about canceling the B gap that sometimes they just get inside a B gap anyway, and so we're trying to get that out of them. But making sure those guys take that inside step, they're going flat down the line, and we really want to take it to the puller. I always tell the guys too, I'm like, shoot. I mean, the goal on defense is to get as fast as possible on guys that can make tackles, and that's no difference on the D line. And so that you're out, you're outmatched as far as weight goes, but what goes into our favor? We got a lot of speed. Well, if you're 190 pounds or 200 pounds and 260 or 270 pulls to hit you and you ain't moving, you've already lost. So we just want to make sure those guys are running through there as fast as possible. Blow up the inside number. We want to get to the puller before he gets going so that we have a chance. All right. All right, and another clip that was pretty good of it. This one kind of, well, I guess I'll go to the tackle circuit deal first. But so we work this tackle drill with everybody, and I really feel like it goes right into, we're talking about some D-line play, but if the D-line doesn't do this, none of this other tackling stuff matters. So it starts with them, and if we can go blow that thing up and get the ball to bounce and we can get it to spill, now we get exactly what we want. So we go here. We always have the ball carrier ends up here, and we're running around the cone. Based upon where you get around the cone, I'm Mr. Inside, I'm Mr. Outside. So right here, all right, I'm tracking this hip, I'm Mr. Inside, we're tracking out here. And we talk about taking the extra step. We talk about making sure that we're attacking cheek to cheek, like they would. But I think it's really important to teach. Coach, what do you drive?
I got a Z71 Chevy.
All right, so Z71. So I tell these guys all the time, I'm like, look, I could go out there and take a bat to your truck and beat the crap out of it, knock out all the windows and do all that stuff, but you still can get in it and put your key in it and drive home.
Yep.
But if I go out there and slit your tires, I ain't got to do nothing to your truck. Truck still looks good, but you ain't going nowhere. That's
a good one, yeah.
We're not talking about necessarily taking out the legs, but we want to make sure that we fit low and always. And I was in the weight room the last 3 years. Like, you treat it like a power clean. Why do we do all these squats and power clean, guys? It's so that when you get right here, now we can lift. Because if the guy no longer has any legs, we know that he can no longer run. If you go hit him up top, shoot, he can still turn his feet and try to get yards. But just fitting low right here, taking the extra step, don't reach. Obviously, our head's up, all right? And we're fitting shoulder to shoulder so we can drive that guy up and out of there. But I think that's been huge. I mean, obviously tackling on defense is always imperative. If you can't do it, obviously you can't play. But I think just understanding where your help is and not feeling like you're out there alone because we're all in this together. And I've been getting on our corners because, the corners are going to be Mr. Outside every time. Well, if you don't show up, like my man did that, well, shoot, like the guy with the ball is the most important guy. Great job. You ran with a guy down the field who doesn't have the ball. Like, we need your help. As long as they let you play with 11, we need to play with 11. I mean, it's already difficult enough to play defensive football now, So we got to get there. But this is just a great example, a great fit of running those feet on out of there. And really, you can see him at the end right here as he's trying to lift and keeping those feet driving. Because like I said, we'd like to see it like a power clean, So on the power clean, obviously you got to pull up and you got to get your chest up and into them. Your hips have to go in. It's the same movement, right? So we want to make sure that as we're leaving our butt out a little bit here, but if we really get our hips in and we lift and hit on the rise, now we're really talking right here. But understanding where your help is, knowing what hip to track. And so this one kind of the same thing too is with some of our younger guys, but we're really trying to get them to understand here, like what is the path of the football? If the path of the football is here, yeah, I need to work on over the top, okay? And also understand where the blocker is in relation to me. So if he's trying to come out here, and obviously I'm the edge setter, so I'm Mr. Outside, I'm Mr. Inside, I know what hip I have to fit on, then I want to be physical right down here and take on that outside shoulder so that I can at least make it force or keep making it run the bubble, and I know that now I can detach and get here. And this is the same deal. The guy's coming at you fast. We need to rip over the top and run. But if he's just trying to shield you off, now we can kind of work through him and make this area a little bit smaller. And like I said, these are some of our younger guys. So this is not necessarily great tape right here, but we're trying to make sure that obviously we keep the outside right there for that kid. Let's see. That's not one. I guess I got the wrong one. But I'll put them other ones on there too. Oh, it's because all right, and we do the same thing with the DBs, a similar drill like this. We're just going to open the space up to where it's 5 by 10, and we're running around that cone. They have to find the hip. We have to close ground. We have to shimmy down because obviously that's what's going to determine how successful you are on defense, not necessarily your schemes, but if you can't tackle people and know where your help is. You see it too many times. Guys fit a wrong gap, or guys are doing their own thing, or wherever they're running, they don't know where their help is, and they're trying to do somebody else's job. We preach to these guys, do your job, stay in your spot, because can your guys trust you? If they can't trust you, then we can't play it. We can't trust you, we can't play it, obviously. Let's see. So here's another play here that kind of shows both of what I was talking about there. All right, with the one clip wasn't so good, but here, all right. So we're looking at this end right here. Okay, and this is off an arc. So we tell them on an arc block, we're going to try and punch that inside pad of the tackle because if we're getting an arc, or he's seeing this as a reach block. If he's getting a reach, we're thinking outside run. We want to get vertical. So we talk about doing the opposite, right? If they want to run the ball inside, we want to force the ball outside. If they want to run the ball outside, we want to cut it off as fast as we can. But he's got to get, his secondary key from his guard right here. So his guard blocks down, good redirect. And this is really what we want. I mean, this is beautiful. He blows that up. We get two guys stacked on each other. He's taken out two. And what I try to sell our D linemen on, and, in I guess the realm of a selfish generation, everybody's posting this and what they're doing and whatnot, and how many stats they got, how many rushing yards did I get, all this stuff. All these D linemen, they want to make plays, right? And everybody thinks that making plays means making tackles. So, because when you look at people's highlights, that's all they're putting down is their tackles. Well, shoot, if they run counter right there, I mean, he may not make that tackle, but he sure as heck made the play. And so we try to sell those D linemen on that. It's really, it's a selfless job. You're going to be fitting B gap. We're going to put you into double teams, but I can guarantee you, if that ball spills out there to the guy that's unblocked, that's a prerequisite. If he doesn't make that tackle, we got to find a new defensive player, but you made the play. So if we're taking out two in this instance, or in the first clip we showed of him, if he's taking out three, well, shoot, we're doing our job. You may not have made the tackle, but you made the play. So we really try to pump them up in that way to get them to understand that it's that's more important than always making a tackle. And this is kind of the same thing here we were talking about. So if we get a pull, this is good. We're Mr. Inside right here. All right, he becomes Mr. Outside. And as we push, we understand, hey, he's not really coming to get me super hard right here. So I'm going to push into him, and I can really try to cut this thing off. And so that's not a bad look at that as he comes back right here, and we get him to cut up, and then we rally to the football. I mean, that's the number one name of the game. So, I mean, that's really all I got, Coach, as far as that goes. I mean, any questions?
Coach, that was great. Let's see here. No, that was fantastic, man. It did a lot. I think it helps people out trying to mix this in this year. What would you say is the biggest challenge for doing it at a new place? You know, you guys are going to a new place, right? What's the biggest challenge you dealt with?
I guess really trying to break old habits. For me, doing this with like the D-line, it's been, you know, your old school squeeze, stay on the line of scrimmage, or you're avoiding. Because this, I mean, I guess like everybody, it's kind of like your dent technique. We don't teach it exactly the same, but really we're trying to go run and get there. And a lot of what we've seen is if they do see the pullers coming, we're avoiding. And then, you know, if you avoid and you don't make the tackle, those two guys just wrapped around and they got a linebacker. So that's kind of been the biggest thing. And then really, I guess, stressing with them getting B gaps. So then they kind of get frustrated, and then they just have run inside and blocked themselves. And that's like, guys, we don't want that either. Like, we want you to go blow up the puller. We want you to go hit him. I think it's just getting them to go full. I mean, I say full speed. It's kind of like when the old school where you kind of shuffle down the line of scrimmage may have been what they had done before. And now we're telling them to cross over, run, and sprint to go blow up that puller. That's been a little bit harder to get them to pick up on. But I guess it's just, you know, hey, you're going to go sacrifice your body. You may not make plays, and that's kind of as we've sold it everywhere, really.
Right.
You may not make as many tackles. I say that's wrong to say. Had to correct
myself. But you're making plays. That's right. And that is the way getting kids to understand that is a challenge that the defensive coordinators have to deal with now. But I appreciate you coming on, Coach. That was awesome. Took us a while to get it done, but I'm glad I got to hear you, man. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. No doubt.
Good luck to you guys this year. I'm excited to follow you. If I can help you guys out in any way, let me know.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Take care, Coach.
All right. Thanks for having me on. We'll see you.
Yes, sir.